The Volunteers come marching down the field in the second half to take the win, 38-28 against the Gators, stopping an 11-game losing streak. The Vols are now 4-0 on the season. This is Talkin VAWLS, Week 5 for Team 120. I'm Snake DA, bringing you the intro because Boogie and JP have lost their voice cheering for the Vols in the Big Orange victory. How's it going, guys?
What's going on, DA?
We gave our all.
Yes, sounds like it. So what was the atmosphere like down there?
It was a range of emotions, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize right now because I was right in the mix. You guys know how positive I am. After that first half, I should have never got on social media at halftime in Neyland Stadium, but I did. All I saw was people complaining about the coaching, which sent me over the edge, so I immediately put the blame on the players because the drop passes, I don't think you can blame coaching for that first half. So everybody was down. Clearly the Boo Birds were out. But that second half, man, I don't know if I've ever heard it that loud in Neyland. That place was rocking.
It was very, very loud. Reminded me a lot second half of the Oklahoma game last year. But like Boogie said, the first half, I literally had my car keys in my hand before halftime. I wouldn't have left, but I would have definitely got up and probably walked around the concourse, about to beat my head against the bricks, I believe. Just so very, very frustrated in that first half. But Vols turned it on in the second half, and I guess that's when it mattered. And, man, did they really put a hurting on them, for sure.
Yeah, the first half just was more of the same, wasn't it? It seemed like that did not look good. I mean, started out with, Justin Martin's personal foul on the kickoff even. And then he gets burnt on a deep pass, and I think everybody was probably worried at that point.
Well, it's just 11 years of frustration, man. And, you go down there and we're nervous all week long and feel like we're going to get sick to our stomach. You want to pick the Vols, but in your head you really think that Florida's going to win. You just have no confidence. And then you're sitting there at halftime, it's 21-3, and all you can think is, here we go again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they go right down the field and score that first touchdown. Second play of the game, I think they throw that bomb to Callaway, and Martin gets beat, and we're like, here we go. And then Tennessee gets a break, and they force that punt, and Callaway flubs it right there, and we get it at the 2-yard line thinking, all right, we're going to get the momentum, and we can't even get it in from the 2-yard line. All 11 years of we've seen this over and over and over, thinking this is the same stuff that happens every single year when these two teams get together. And they score that touchdown again. They catch Tennessee in a blitz, had the perfect play call, threw it back to the running back. He walks in the end zone to go up 14, and then they score that touchdown, just running it down our throats to go up 21-0. And never would have imagined that Tennessee would have came out in the second half and did what they did.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall at halftime to hear what Butch Jones said to those kids, how they reacted, how they responded. You look at Josh Dobbs in the first half versus the second half. I don't think there was really any change. I think he is stone cold, and I don't think he ever doubted. And that's what was amazing to me, man. Just they dug in and they kept fighting, and we didn't. That stadium gave up. We just can beat it into the ground time and time again for 11 years. What else do you expect? But they pulled it off, and man, never been so happy in my life. Grown men in the stands crying, grown men hugging, high-fiving and taking pictures with guys I've never seen in my life, and the streak is over, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I can't believe we came back. Like you said, after that, I mean, we get the ball back on the 2, and Kroom, Dobbs throws a great pass to Kroom, and he just drops it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, just flat out drops it.
And then we finally get another glimmer of hope, and Dobbs throws an interception over to the talking duck guy, and man, it was just. I would have bet $1 million that game was not going to turn around like that.
Yeah.
This game is just like every other game this season. It's just been such a weird 4 weeks for the Vols. You know, I came back home and I rewatched that first half, and yeah, they were down 21-3, but it was just a couple of big plays here, dropping the balls. That Tennessee could have been all over Florida in the first half.
Well,
yeah, I agree. We could have been in that game. We could have been tied or leading at halftime if the breaks went our way.
So let's we had no plan. We were just going to start rambling tonight. But I want your all's honest opinion when it comes down to and putting blame on people. You know, I get so sick and tired of blaming coaches or blaming players. It's a team, and in the words of Butch Jones, it's a process. That's exactly what I was going to say. But seriously, when you look at that first half, how many drops were there? 6, 7, 8 drops? I mean, it was ridiculous. And people want to blame the coaching. That's not coaching, or is it? From your standpoint, can you say it is coaching, that the kids were under too much pressure? You know, they couldn't go out there and execute because Butch and staff didn't handle it right. Who do you put the blame on for that?
Well, personally, those drops that Tennessee had in the first half Saturday, I think that's on the players. I mean, there wasn't really any contested drops. You know, it wasn't like that they had Florida defensive backs all over them on these plays. I mean, you know, we threw it to the tight end there, Wolf, twice, and I mean, he just flat out just drops it. Malone had a drop, and then like DA said, Kroom right there in the end zone. I mean, watched the replay yesterday, and it was just like it just went right through his hands. So to me, that's just the players just not focused.
Well, some of those drops, I don't know if you guys probably didn't see it on TV if you were there, but you know, the Kroom was just a drop. He should have caught that ball, and the first one to Wolf, he should have caught it. But some of those other passes were behind the receivers.
Certainly
Weren't very good passes. I mean, some of them were probably as much Dobbs as it was the receivers. You still got to try and get your hands on it and catch the ball, but I think they were just kind of pressing a little bit. You know, this is the biggest stage that they were going to be in, and this game, you know, we've all said it. This game is the season for us, pretty much. So
until this week, now
we move
to Georgia.
on.
Yeah, now it's time to get ready for the Bulldogs. But overall, from a coaching standpoint, I thought DeBoard called easily his best game of the year. Schemed up 2 beautiful touchdowns in the second half. You know, when Hurd and Kamara were in the backfield, the little wheel route, that's all scheme. That is all scheme. The play where they motioned Malone out, that's all scheme. All Dobbs had to do was put it on his hands, which Dobbs made a beautiful pass right there, man. Beautiful pass.
Probably the best throw that he's ever made.
Just a great job by DeBoard, I think, from an offensive play calling standpoint. Flip side, I've been harping on the guy all year long. I love Shoop. Man, they got to find a way to hang on to that guy because I think somebody's going to come calling for a head coaching job. I think so. He's that good.
He's amazing. I am amazed at what he's able to do, especially in the second half with this team. And look at all the players we've got on the field, and we've got, you know, freshmen out there, guys that we have no confidence in at all. They're out there balling it up in the second half. I was very impressed with those guys.
You know, we rip on old Colton Jumper. That kid played well against Florida. At one point, Jumper and Bates were on the field at the same time, and I was thinking,
in the first quarter,
what is this?
Yeah, I know.
Bates was on the field a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. And Justin Martin, he had a pretty rough start to the game, but he's out there playing his heart out. I was pretty impressed with those guys. I think he's going to be good down the road. You know, like you said, play calling from DeBoard, I was very impressed. We said last week we got to open it up. And I said if he opens it up, Dobbs is liable to get 2 picks. And that's what happened. But we were able to pull it out. I think because he opened it up, though, Dobbs was able to stay in the game and keep it rolling.
Would you have ever thought that Dobbs would have thrown for 319 yards and 4 touchdowns? Never in my wildest
dreams.
Not
one of us considered claiming that we thought that was going to happen.
Uh-huh.
I think our conversation through email between me and Snake was, will Dobbs throw or run for more yards this week?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could definitely would have been the same way with that. Was really, really shocked. I mean, but it's certainly promising because, just imagine how lethal that this offense can be if they can continue to get the consistency in the throw game that they got there Saturday, especially in that second half. And like we said, if it hadn't have been for those drop passes, Tennessee would have scored a lot more than 38 points Saturday.
Yeah,
a lot more.
And I think if they could have schemed up a little bit better in the running game instead of just that little dive play to Hurd, we got down inside the 5 2 or 3 times there, and they just basically handed it off to him for 1 yard, just like we've seen all season.
Yeah.
If they can make that play work, I don't know if that's just the offensive line or if it's just never going to work, but if that play ever starts working, then this offense will take off, I think.
Well, if they can keep the throw game rolling, it goes both ways. You can run the ball to set up the pass, but you get Dobbs throwing for 300 yards, defenses are going to have to respect that, and that's going to open up some runs for Hurd.
I'd say it'll be seen Saturday against Georgia. I mean, you know that Georgia's looked at that tape and thought, oh, wow, we're not going to be able to stack the box now potentially. So, but it's all going to come down to whether Dobbs and the receivers can continue to hook up like that.
How about JaJuan Jennings live? I knew he bobbled it. I did not know just how bad he bobbled that deep ball until I watched the replay when I got back home. My
3 times, yeah.
And did you hear Tim Priest call?
Oh, yeah, it was
on
classic,
the radio?
classic.
Get you some of that, Jalen Tabor. That was awesome, man. Just,
yeah.
Such a fun second half. I've never had that much fun, obviously, at a UT Florida game in my life.
Yeah, we were sitting there in the south end zone, and when Dobbs threw that pass and looked at it, I thought, man, he has overthrown him. And didn't even see that Tabor had fell down on that move that Jennings had put on him. Just seen Jennings just running down the sideline wide open, and he reached up, and I mean, you could literally, from our angle, it was like the ball was out of bounds, and he tipped it back and bobbled it and kept on running. I mean, just an amazing play, certainly to not only catch it but to stay in bounds.
Yeah. Our receiving core, I think, is really, really coming into their own. And between Malone and Jennings and now Tyler Bird's.
Oh, yeah. I'm
getting in
very
there.
excited about T-Bird for sure.
Yeah. They're going to be pretty tough with Wolf and Kroom if they ever start catching passes.
Well, what's crazy about Wolf is his touchdown pass he caught was a difficult ball to catch.
Oh, yeah.
Great
and
catch.
He pulled that down like nobody's business.
Yeah.
The first one he dropped, he probably should have had. Dobbs rifled it in there, and there was probably 3 or 4 Gators running around him. He might have got a little, alligator arms on that one, but the second one was kind of behind him, and it was a pretty tough catch. But that touchdown pass he caught, that was great.
Well, let's talk about the man that took over the game in the second half that we have yet to mention. That's Derek Barnett. That kid ball out. Was he? I think he was co-SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week.
He
or something
was,
like
yeah.
That. And he is. I don't understand how he gets off the ball so fast. And not only that, but the angle of his body where he just goes under those tackles and he's in the backfield before the quarterback even realizes what's happening.
Yeah, he played great. Every play, every snap, I'm waiting to see if they throw a flag. He's in there so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like he's offsides every time. But the defensive line played great, I thought.
Well, they definitely come on there in the second half. They was what really jump-started that turnaround because Tennessee got the ball there to start the second half, and they drive downfield, and they just self-destruct again where Dobbs threw that pick, and you're sitting there thinking, just another missed opportunity, but was a huge third down stop there on 3rd and 1. Jumper jump in there and kept them from getting that first down, and then that's when the onslaught started. But Barnett really took over the game there in the third quarter. Had those two sacks, a couple of tackle for losses. They couldn't. Florida couldn't block him there at one point. I mean, he was just totally just dominating, and even Shy Tuttle was getting into it. And I tell you, that Danny O'Brien, he continues to make plays in the backfield, continues to do it. We've just got to figure out a way that we can do that for all 4 quarters instead of just 2 or 3 quarters.
Yeah, if this team shows up and they play and they execute for 4 quarters, they can play with anybody in the country.
There's no doubt.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt. Another thing that we haven't mentioned, but I think that we definitely have to mention about the game Saturday, is what about the offensive line? 1 sack is all that they gave up. If you'd have told me before that game that we'd only given up 1 sack, I'd have took that all day, any day. All day, any day. You know, we gained 498 yards against Florida, which came into the game. You know, everybody was saying they were the 85 Bears, you know, because they really hadn't played anybody, but everybody was watching them on tape just saying how great they were. And in the third and fourth quarter, I mean, Tennessee just abused them. I mean, just absolutely abused them. We had touchdown passes of 67 yards, 42 yards, and 2 that were over 20. I mean, it was just unreal to see what they did, and they wouldn't have been able to do that if the offensive line hadn't have been able to at least. I mean, it wasn't perfect because they were on several of those touchdown throws. Actually, Dobbs was getting hit, and that's something else that was refreshing to see about Dobbs. It was like he was actually maturing as a pocket quarterback in a sense. You know, he was actually standing in the pocket, stepping up in there. He was looking the defensive backs off, the safeties and stuff like that, things that we really had never seen him do.
The touchdown pass to Wolf, I think he took a hit on that play.
He did. He did.
Got to be careful how I word this. The way he stepped up into the pocket, but not only stepped up, the way he raised up and delivered that football with confidence, man, was just so nice to see. And, man, I'm so happy for that kid because he takes so much flack about his ability to throw the football, but we've said it over and over and over. The kid's just a leader. He's a winner. And if anybody deserves this win, it's Josh Dobbs in his senior season.
Yeah. Don't you love that look that he has when he's coming back to the sideline after we've scored?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? His head's kind of
looking,
his helmet's let down a little bit, and he's staring out of his visor.
Yeah.
I love that look when he's coming back. What made the difference in the offensive line? You think, is it Chance Hall that big of a difference?
I think it definitely was. I think that was definitely a huge improvement. He struggled a little bit there in the first quarter and stuff, but I think as he got more accustomed to the speed of the game and everything, I mean, we got to think about it, guys. He only practiced for 1 week after coming off knee surgery. So, missed some of fall camp there and everything as well. So he's a big old dude, and he's pretty athletic. So I think it was a huge bonus to get him back and put him in there. We got to work on, if we're going to keep Wiseman at center, we're going to have to work on his snaps. There was several there. We even fumbled that one and was lucky to get that one back, but he had several snaps that were really, really low.
We only have 1 fumble for the game, and we got it back, so that was nice.
Yeah.
So what is that now? 12 out of 13 or 11 out of 12, something like that? Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. I was glad to see Todd Kelly Jr. get that pick. I always like seeing him do well, especially in the Florida game. They said he was in the stands watching the game when he was like 8 or something, and never seen Tennessee beat Florida. So I know he was pumped up for that. He's a Knoxville kid. So the secondary, what did you think about the secondary? I think they, other than the start, they played pretty well, I thought.
Well, other than the big plays, they tackled well. That was something that was harped on all week. Is you got to be able to tackle well when it's not a throw downfield, and I think they did a good job tackling.
I think the biggest thing that helped the secondary in the second half was the pressure. I mean,
absolutely.
Anybody will say that a secondary is a whole lot better when they've got the front seven that's wreaking havoc on the quarterback. So certainly getting that pressure on Appleby and making him a little more timid and not able to stand in the pocket, because I tell you, at first half I was sitting there thinking, good Lord, this guy's like an All-American. I mean, he was making some throws. I mean all 3 of those deep balls that Florida connected in the first half, I mean, they were perfect throws. They really were.
like you said, the pressure in the second half exposed him a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, the picks he threw, and he really couldn't do anything. It made him, I think the defensive line, like you said, exposed him in the second half, and we got to see really why he's down at Florida and not at Purdue.
Well, in that,
I love the fact that he admitted that the atmosphere in Neyland Stadium did rattle him and did affect him. And that kind of, I wanted to ask you, JP, you're the recruiting expert here on Talkin VAWLS. You don't have a recruiting roundup this week, but the atmosphere, we talked about it earlier, how loud it got in that second half. Checker, Neyland, Smoky Grays, game day. I mean, so many recruits down there. What did you hear after the game from a recruiting standpoint?
Well, from what's been said so far is a lot of them, most of them were saying, it was the wildest and craziest and most exciting atmosphere that they've ever been to. Said it was just amazing. And of course, that they talked about how it was great to see Tennessee not fold and come back, but there was many comments about just how the fans were just so into it, and just how loud that it got, and everything like that. But there was tons of recruits down there, not only for this coming up recruiting year 2017, but there was ton of 2018 and 2019 kids down there, and wasn't a bunch of scrubs either. We're talking about 4- and 5-star top 100 players. I seen one of the recruiting experts, national experts per se, made a comment that felt like that if it may have helped Tennessee more for the 18 and 19 kids, maybe more so than it does the 17 kids, because Tennessee's pretty much only got three or four spots available, which anybody knows that that's subject to change. There's always 3 or 4 that they end up parting ways with and everything, but said that felt like that it could really help the 18 and 19 classes. So just have to keep on winning. I mean, that's what it said. I mean, that's what everybody's been saying for the recruiting this year, is that there's several guys that are just waiting to see if Tennessee is able to win the games that a lot of people have said that they can't win. So that's all we need to do. We just need to keep on winning.
Yeah, speaking of keep on winning, Boogie, you know what week it is?
It's my favorite week of the year, baby.
It's UGA week.
We talked all year long, right? We've been talking about it for way before this season ever started, that the one game that matters this year is the Florida game. And now that it's come and gone, the one game that matters is the UGA game. They have to win this game. Of course, it takes a lot of pressure off with Georgia getting whipped by Ole Miss this past Saturday. But this game, Tennessee can, I'm not going to say lock it up, but all but lock it up with a victory in Athens on Saturday.
Wow, that's scary. It's saying that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can lock it up with A&M and Bama right after it, but this is going to be a big game, and man, I hope it's not a trap game after what happened with Ole Miss, and us having such an emotional roller coaster against Florida. I hope we come out and play like we did in the second half, and not just like we have been this rest of the season.
Well, if Tennessee goes down there Saturday and beats Georgia, essentially they've got a 3-game lead on Georgia, because Georgia would have 2 conference losses and Tennessee would have the tiebreaker. So Tennessee would have to lose 3 conference games in order for Georgia to jump them.
And that Florida team, they're going to lose more than another ball game in the SEC.
I certainly think so.
There's no way they're going to run the table.
Well, you heard them running their mouth after the game, didn't you? What they've been saying. No Florida team has ever won a national championship without 1 loss. That's what they've been saying. So
Florida,
it ain't going to matter this year, because they're going to have more than 1 loss.
They're going to have to find a better offense than what they had in the second half, for sure.
Yeah.
And a better defense.
Hopefully Georgia doesn't find a better offense and a better defense than what they went down and played against Ole Miss. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Well, Chubb's been struggling, and then he's also got the ankle injury. I mean, he had a big first game against North Carolina, but since then he's really not put up big numbers. But you know this game's been circled on his calendar since last year.
Yeah.
So I think the kid will play no matter what.
Yeah, he's got an ankle sprain. We all know too well about those, obviously, but I would imagine that he's going to play. Of course, is he going to be 100%? I doubt it, because it's hard to be a skill player like that, running back, and have those ankle injuries. It's just hard to make those cuts and things like that. But I would imagine that he's going to play. I think Kirby Smart said today that he's uncertain about his status, so I guess that we'll actually see. But yeah, Ole Miss really put a hurting on them Saturday. Kind of makes you wonder what kind of mood is Georgia going to be in Saturday. Are they going to be mad and want to turn it around, or are they going to kind of cave in? Who knows?
That's the way this whole season's been, right?
Yeah.
We 4 weeks into this thing, and we still cannot get a read on what's going to happen going into the game on Saturday. I think Tennessee's a 3.5 point favorite going to Athens.
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's down to 3 points last time I looked, but I don't know.
Yeah. So
nobody has any faith.
No, still none. Break an 11-year losing streak and still no confidence, and that's awful. But man, we've just had so much heartache and letdown lately. It's hard to believe at this point. But is it time for predictions? Are we getting into predictions?
And I think it's also the fact that Tennessee,
no, not yet.
They still haven't. They still haven't put a full game together. I mean that's what all the national pundits and everybody is looking at, thinking, this team has yet to play 60 minutes of football.
You know when they're going to put that 60 minutes of football together?
I mean, I hope
October 15th. That's when.
I hope they put it together Saturday, personally. Because
I just hope they keep winning. I don't care if they put the whole game together. Just win the game.
Just win, baby. Just win.
Well, yeah, but I think as the season goes along, they're going to have to put these 4 quarters of football together. They're playing with fire, going down 14-21. All that kind of stuff. I mean, at some point in time, they're not going to be able to overcome those deficits.
Yeah, can Tennessee learn to play with that same fire when they have a lead or when the game's tied, right?
Yeah.
They've got to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And our coaching staff's got to be able to do that too. Let them go for it, I think.
Yeah. And what kind of mentality is Tennessee going to have Saturday? I mean, you talk about, just like Boogie said, that Florida game had been circled as the game of the year. I mean, that was the must-win game of the year. And you've got 18 to 22-year-old, football players out there, kids basically. And how do you reel them back in after all that excitement and all that craziness that went on down there Saturday? How do you reel them back in to get ready to go down there to Athens, Georgia, and play what is, they haven't played great this year, but they're still a 3-1 football team, and they've got plenty of weapons that can certainly give Tennessee trouble. And we all know by watching the Tennessee-Georgia game, it really usually doesn't matter who the better team is. That game's always typically a high-scoring game, and it's usually a 7-point game.
I just think that, are we scared of Georgia because it's Georgia? Because when you look at the results on the field, which I guess you could flip and say the same about Tennessee in certain aspects, but they played North Carolina close. Nicholls State, what was it? Our old boy from the Netflix documentary out there just whooping people.
Ronald Ollie.
They struggled with Missouri. They get whipped by Ole Miss.
Yeah, it's looked really bad, and I'm hoping that they're they're playing their stud freshman quarterback, Eason. I'm hoping that it's growing pains for him, and it's hopefully some dissension in that new coaching staff is what I'm hoping. And I'm hoping they're not going to be able to pull it back together. I'm hoping we're just going to run them.
Their offensive line has given up 12 sacks so far this year.
We discussed this week, and me and Snake might have disagreed a little bit, but who do you think has the best defensive line in the SEC, Snake?
We discussed this?
Well, you seem to think that Florida was the 85 Bears, and I said I thought Tennessee's defense was better than Florida's defense.
I think I didn't say the defense defensive line.
You can't disagree with me now.
No, I think overall, I definitely had Florida as the better defense overall because of the injuries and the depth issues we had at cornerback and linebacker. But, I don't know. I mean, I still think Florida's got a very good defense. Our guys came to play in the second half. I don't know. That was just amazing.
Let's talk some predictions. We're running into overtime here.
I think since I did the intro this week, Boogie, you should go first.
Does that mean that I should pick Georgia and then act like I'm going to change my pick?
Yeah, pick Georgia and then switch it after JP goes.
My thoughts on this game are, number one, I think Tennessee has more talent than they do, period, hands down. Number two, I think there's too many seniors, too many upperclassmen on this team. And I know we've had ups and downs this season, but I just don't see them coming down off of it. I think they're going to realize just how big this Georgia game is. Butch is going to have them dialed in. They know if they beat Georgia, they've all but locked in the SEC East. I'm not saying it's locked in. I know you got to go play the games, but all but locked in. I think Tennessee comes out, they execute. I think we may see a little bit more herd this week. I think Georgia may respect the passing game more than everybody else has. But I'm going to say Tennessee wins. I'm going to say 27-17. I think the defense really wins this football game, and the offense does enough to get it done.
Wow.
All right.
Go
JP.
That's not your typical homer pick of 65-17.
Well, who got the pick right last week? I forgot.
I don't know.
Your crow's not overcooked, is it?
Hey, I told you when I made that pick, man, that I'd be more than happy to eat crow on here. Be more than happy to.
It tastes good.
You don't want me to mention those text messages I got from you at halftime, do you?
You can't because we got to keep this show PG rated.
I had you convinced that we need to hire Bobby Petrino.
Oh God, you did not. I did not get that bad. I said some bad things, but I wasn't ready to fire anybody.
Let me pull that back up right quick.
We might need to start looking at Petrino's offensive coordinator here for a couple of years down the road.
Yeah, really. Like I said earlier, that Tennessee-Georgia game always seems to be close. It always seems to typically be a high-scoring affair. I still have concerns about Tennessee's secondary, and I think that's where Georgia can take advantage. I think that I watched quite a bit of that Missouri game, and those two just ran up and down the field. Really, I don't know how the score wasn't higher than it was because both teams had receivers just wide open, it seemed like. I'm making this pick based on what I saw Tennessee do in the second half offensively, and I'm basing it on that Georgia doesn't have near as good as defense, or at least they haven't been playing as good as Florida did. I'm going to go similar to what happened this past week against the Florida Gators. I'm going to go Tennessee 38, Georgia Bulldogs 24.
Oh, wow. Pretty big spread there, JP.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing as you, Boogie, and you too, JP. I'm thinking that Georgia's going to step back and try to stop our passing game down the field. I think they're going to try to make us run the ball. They're probably, and hopefully we won't just hand the ball off for 1 yard up the middle. But we're going to have to get the running game going. I think that on defense, like you said, we're going to have to stop them in the defensive backfield. We're going to have to stop their wide receivers. Easton's going to throw it down the field. We're going to have to come up with a pick or two. But my pick is going to be for Tennessee to win 35-28.
I like it. I like that we're all three on the same page.
I could see that score happening. Because usually, like I said, it's within a 7-point game typically.
Well, yeah, I told last week. I told the Gasifier and Fishbone. I told those guys we're going to have to score 30 points to win that game against Florida, and I was right on it. I think we're going to have to do the same thing against Georgia.
Well, you're the host, Snake. Take this thing home.
I don't know. You bring it home. I don't know how to bring it home, Boogie.
You don't?
Nope.
I think I normally just say, you guys got any parting words?
Carry the fight to Georgia.
And keep it there for 60 minutes. 60 minutes.
60 minutes.
Not 30, not 45. Let's
Not
deliver
25.
a full football game this Saturday.
That's right.
Georgia.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm certainly hoping for. I will add one thing. I think Tennessee has a big advantage special teams wise this week. If we can keep that McKenzie fella from running a punt or a kickoff back, but their field goal kicker so far has not been very good. They've actually used 2 different kickers, and I wouldn't be surprised if Evan Berry doesn't put us in very good field position, or maybe even take one to the house. Go Vols.
You heard it here, folks. All right, I think that's going to wrap this thing up. Hit us up on Twitter at Talkin VAWLS. Find us on Facebook. Just search Talkin VAWLS. I actually think it's facebook.com/TalkinVAWLS. But for Snake DA, that's why I was going to give you a chance to say adios.
Adios, muchacha.
And for Jason Phillips,
See ya, everyone.
I'm Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
Go Vols.